Okay, restart the stream. Let's go at it. Okay. That's kind of loud. Okay, all right. Nice. The Illuminati. Alrighty. What happened to my... Oh, I see. I gotta add a source. Is it that one? I'll just switch it.
Illusion game, whatever you want to call it, the political bright shiny thing that we're all supposed to, be talking about and staring at. And
I don't know why it always restarts the audio.
And so I realize it's a distraction at best, but I was kind of reflecting on it today, and I'll go like, well, maybe it's more than that. And I kind of started thinking about it yesterday when Richie from Boston, he put up a video and he was playing a clip from JRE with Theo Vaughn recently. I didn't actually watch the interview myself, so I was glad that he caught this with Theo Vaughn talking about it. But there was a little piece in here that jumped out at me because I've caught Rogan saying this before.
We're better than this. That's what I'm saying. We're better than this. Yes. We have all this elected officials and these people that we thought were like us.
Sociopaths.
When does that end?
Yep.
My suspicion is it ends when AI starts sorting government. We're probably going to use AI with government to prevent this kind of that we see on an everyday basis.
But then they will turn back.
Either he's really jazzed about this idea of AI taking over the government and genuinely believes that of his own accord, or this is like one of the main talking points that he's been coached into pointing to. And so that's kind of the theory or the premise, the hypothesis that I've been pondering, is the fact that there's so much, because at this point it's crazy how I've seen this theme of the Eyes Wide Shut. Oh, Eyes Wide Shut is real.
The Epstein emails show that conspiracy theorists are right. Eyes Wide Shut is real.
It's almost kind of a meme with the whole Epstein thing and all the stuff coming out. What was going on with Trump and Clinton and all this? It's all this salacious, it's gossip. This varies anything. Remember what a big deal it was with Monica Lewinsky and the dress and all that? I mean, this is no scandal of any politician in the past really holds a candle to the Epstein affair because it, affects people on both sides of the aisle. But also because, you're talking about trafficking of underage women and boys, I would say, obviously. And people know about the Franklin cover-up.
That whole thing's just a kickball at this point, I feel like.
Bro, have you ever seen that video of me and Tim Dillon where Tim Dillon is laying out the scandal that took place in, was it the 1970s, Jamie?
Wow.
The Franklin scandal? What year was that?
And so basically what I'm wondering is, is the final play here to where, this has been brewing for decades.
Lots of bad things
coming out, and we've been learning about people like Kathy O'Brien and Bohemian Grove and all this stuff. All the stuff that before the internet, you know, they could kind of control like what the public even learned about, because you just couldn't get the information out to the masses in the same way independently like you can now with the internet. And of course now they're trying to take control back of that with the digital ID, you know, and policing everyone's speech on the internet. But in order to get there, like, what a perfectly, it's like poetic almost. The idea of like weaponizing, you know, the conspiracy theorists were right all along in a way.
Yes.
Because like the thing
They
with
always
all this,
are.
yeah, the files, like, does anybody really believe that there's just like, I mean, they've already made a meme out of everything. Like, oh yeah, like there's a big binder sitting on somebody's desk in Washington D.C. or at the FBI or anywhere. No, they've already made a joke out of all of that. They're releasing all these emails, and so everyone now believes in them again.
Yo, what's up? What's
but
up?
in the same way that I
Welcome
think
in, welcome
Elon
in.
Musk and Doge, the whole Doge concept was that like, oh, we need to plug AI into every department of government and penetrate the bureaucracy and eliminate all the waste.
At
right?
Carson
Which,
Sawyer
of course, did not happen.
Yo, what's up,
They
Carson?
They just shuffled the funds
Hi.
around to
How
other
you
things.
doing,
They made a big
Carson?
spectacle out of
Welcome
all the
in, welcome
woke
in.
programs
Good
that were getting
evening.
funding. But in reality, if they're plugging AI into all the different departments of government, then it's the one thing that, because like how is one
Did you already
individual
read
supposed to
the
go
Epstein
through
files?
20,000 emails or go through huge dumps of data or a huge server full of whatever? People can't do it. Yes, collectively. on the
Welcome in,
internet,
welcome in,
people will
everybody.
comb
God
through
bless
all
you
this
guys.
stuff. But the fact that
Jesus
the whole
loves you.
country and the whole world is talking about this, and that this is the big, it's just pretty obvious that it's a big setup for something. You know, problem, reaction, solution. And if the problem is getting to the bottom of how much does Trump really know, how much did he really, you know, was he just hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein?
How much do
and
these
not
guys people know,
participating?
man? This guy right here, he seems like he does not want it to come out. And then she was willing, this lady right here, I don't even know what's her name. This lady was willing, but I think they shut her down. And she was happy before that, and then she looks all sad now and depressed with her job. But this guy, just after that happened, he just looks more evil.
You know,
This guy's
was he
just
just hanging out
pure
with
evil.
Jeffrey Epstein and not participating in the trafficking, you know, which is kind of an absurd question. But of course,
But
the
like, they're all
diehard
in the club.
Trump
They're all in the
supporters
same
don't wanna
club.
believe that he was actually that depraved, right? But nobody wants to believe that the depravity goes that deep on all sides and goes into J.P. Morgan Chase. It goes
Yes,
into
everybody's in
MIT
it.
and Yale and Harvard.
Everybody that's in the
and
club was in
House
the
and
club.
Senate. And in reality,
At
the swamp
Carson
is much
Sawyer
wider and
said,
deeper and darker than anyone really
HHHH.
wants to even imagine.
Yep. God bless you. God bless you.
And that's kind of what
Jesus
I keep
Christ
thinking
loves
about
you.
Is how,
That's
we
why I'm
kinda see
here,
the same
because
principle
Jesus-
When you just think about the conspiracy kind of realm
We're happy
in
that
general,
you're here.
You know, when it
You
comes
get to hear the
to
truth in Jesus.
the secret societies, like the whole idea of a secret society. I think you go back to the Rosicrucian manifestos where they wrote these weird esoteric pamphlets with all the simple, you know, they were recruiting people. And I think looking back over the past 15 years of following all this stuff, you think about like how many people through, you know, the 9/11 truth movement and
God
that
bless
kind of being
you.
when the,
You need salvation.
conspiracy alternative media really started
You need
taking
Jesus
off
more than
in
anything.
conjunction
And in
with
the
the
name of Jesus,
internet,
we pray for
how so
your
many people have
salvation,
been sucked into
for
the
your
same
spirit to
occult
heal.
belief system that the secret society.
That's why we're here.
You know, and I've been talking about this.
That's
for
why I'm live.
forever. And there's something about that
Because of
where
Jesus
it's like,
Christ.
even though it should
We're
be
exposing the
transparently
truth.
obvious that, like, well, if
We're
it's what the
exposing all
elites
evil.
are- if it's a secret society, there's something wicked and dark about it. That's why they're keeping it.
There's the wicked and darkness in everything. Music, movies, mainstream media, everywhere. The White House especially. All governments, not just the White House. All societies.
A secret, right? But
Dark
that's
and
what
evil
also creates
forces
the
at
allure
play.
and the mystery and the seductive quality of
This
it.
is for you guys.
Through shadows they stride a network untold. Trump and the Illuminati with a grip so bold, guiding secrets with unyielding might to control destinies concealed from sight. With 6666 as their emblem and sign, through AI stargates they blur the line.
666 is coming, guys.
It's because people naturally, you know, want to solve the mystery.
God bless you guys.
And that's what I think
Thanks for stopping
Epstein
by.
is really being used to do to the whole world, right? Because the whole world, I mean, even though Tucker Carlson and stuff, you know, he just did his 9/11. Like 9/11's pretty much mainstream at this point, but they're not talking about it in White House press conferences and, you know, the Senate floor and every major news channel. We've kind of gone beyond that, right? Even though they're all connected, because people connect them both to Israeli intelligence and Middle Eastern wars and all that stuff, right? So it's pretty amazing that Zionism is now being put right in the middle of the New World Order, you know, controlled exposure.
It's all a big, deep agenda.
The controlled narrative of who's behind it all, whether it's from the banking system, and things are just speeding up. We are right on the cusp of this digital, you know, reset.
That's what I said.
I mean, that's
666
really the end game,
Stargate.
at least.
Stargate is coming, guys. They call it digital ID. The Bible calls it 666. But it's the name of the beast. It's the name of the man that's going to control it. But it's basically it's gonna be AI that's going to control the world. And there's going to be one man in charge of the whole world.
From an
you have to have a digital ID, otherwise you're not
the true end
gonna
game,
be able to buy or sell.
Spiritual and eternal.
No job,
and Satan
no ID, no job.
To destroy faith in the one true God and the one true Messiah. And so the whole point of the economic stranglehold is leverage, just like the whole idea of blackmail. It's just crazy how it's kind of like, yeah, in a weird way, it's like it's normalizing the idea of blackmail, and I think on a subconscious level almost, it reinforces within everyone's mind that, like, oh yeah, we've all been surveilled for over 20 years probably. Like, what kind of file does the government have on every single one of us? And I'm not saying that that's even what is actually going to happen. Like, the new system is going to be like, well, we'll release your file to the world. I think it's, like I said, I think it's more of it's a subconscious kind of appeal to the sort of the guilt that everyone has, but knowing that, like, we're all guilty before God, but then wanting to see somebody like Epstein go down, or wanting to see Trump go down, or wanting to see Clinton or Obama, or it's almost like, well, if we can sacrifice them to the digital gods, then maybe they'll be appeased and we can all just get on with our lives, and maybe AI governance is a good thing. I mean, Joe Rogan obviously thinks it's a good idea. And Elon Musk is still out there talking about how because of AI and humanoid robots, we're going to eliminate poverty. I mean, it's the most delusional transhumanist idiocy you could dream up.
If you say, like, in the long term, where will things end up? Long term, I don't know what long term is. Maybe it's 10, 20 years, something like that. For me, that's long term. My prediction is that work will be optional.
Optional.
Optional. So
we'll take that.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be like playing sports or a video game or something like that. If you want to work, you know, in the same way, like you can go to the store and just buy some vegetables, or you could grow vegetables in your backyard. It's much harder to grow vegetables in your backyard, but some people still do it.
So if you guys did not know, this spying surveillance thing is just very old. If you guys don't know by this time, this is very old news, but it's called Echelon before. Now it's gonna be Stargate, but Echelon has gone through a lot of phases of names and obviously technology. But yeah, the surveillance system, which has been the whole core of the wars and stuff, is just intelligence. It's always been about intelligence. And wars have been created just as a money-making machine. But yeah, it's obviously this goes back from, like, obviously it goes back to World War I, when it really started, but it got really deep back in the 50s and 70s. And it obviously hasn't stopped ever since. And now they did what they've been wanting to do centuries ago. And before that, the last person that tried it, tried to take over the world like that, Um, in the old, I guess in the old, I was gonna say not before. Yeah, before the Industrial Revolution, we had Napoleon. That was the last guy that tried to take over the world. Before the, of course, you got the German army, but before World War One, that's the guy that didn't have any participate. He was the last. That was the last guy that by himself he wanted to take over the world. He wasn't paid by the Illuminati, but he did. I mean, he didn't know he was being paid by the Illuminati, and the other guys were funded by the same people. So that's how wars have always been. Just there've been money has been owned by the rich elites, the people in power, and those people in power fund both sides. They've always have funded both sides. That's no conspiracy theory. But I just wanted to look it up before I forgot the name, and I'm gonna search up Echelon on YouTube. What's still available?
Like optional. It's kind of interesting, and my guess is, if you go out long enough, assuming there's a continued improvement in AI and robotics, which this seems likely, the money will stop being relevant at some point in the future. Currency becomes irrelevant. But AI and humanoid robots will actually eliminate poverty. And Tesla won't be the only one that makes them. I think Tesla will pioneer this, but there will be many other companies that make humanoid robots. But there is only basically one way to make everyone wealthy, and that is AI and robotics.
And again, it's like, does he really believe this, or is this just what, he was put in place to be a prophet for? It kind of doesn't really matter. Who even knows, like, how genuine he is? But I hate to break it to you, but I don't think that AI and robotics is going to just... We're not going to live in the Jetsons world where the robots do all your dry cleaning and your cooking, and we all just get paid to sit around and stare at our screens, I guess. Prompting. We're going to have AI prompt careers. What a joke. I freaking hate AI. Hopefully you do too. It's so weird to be like, I was talking to a friend the other day about how we were like, yeah, we were hating AI before it was cool. We can officially say that. We were hating on AI 10 years ago before it was even really here. And now it's here, and we definitely hate it. I hate everything about it. And there's things about AI that I never even imagined that you would hate. But it's like everything we thought it would be, but dumber and just more insulting to the human experience than you ever thought possible. But it's that slippery slope where you just normalize it and people just get... I mean, dude, it's been kind of depressing, honestly. Because even, my homies on No Agenda, which I've been listening to since 2020 or so. And it's like, it just starts out as like a bit. Oh, let's ask the robot. Make fun of the robot voice and the stupid AI banter that it does. And yeah, it's just a joke. It's just an experiment. But then, once you're doing it like every show and every podcast, then it's like it's not a bit anymore. Now you're just teaching people to just ask the computer. Ask the AI. And oh yeah, we can use it for show art and end of show mixes and, why fight it? It's really disappointing, man. I mean, it's in the grand scheme of things, it's like, whatever, it's a podcast, but it's been hard to stomach lately because, yeah, it's like you got your cell phone in a drawer, but you're talking to the AI. Make that make sense to me. You got to draw the line somewhere. If you can't even not talk to the computer, then how are you going to deal with even more difficult choices that are right around the corner? Yeah. So, I'm not trying to shame anybody. It's not about okay, if you've been talking to the AI programs, the bots, that you've committed some unforgivable sin, or you need to stop. I'll just say that. If you've been getting sucked down to that slippery slope and getting seduced by the convenience of it, that's how all this stuff has worked. Right? That's how everything has been sold. Every component of our digital enslavement has been through convenience. But now I think, yeah, with Epstein, I don't know. It's just speculation, but because what human can really get to the bottom of all this? Because I think it's convoluted on purpose. I think it's all been built up and just, it's, you know, oh, it was a Democrat hoax, and now then it wasn't even, you know, it wasn't even real, and now it is real, and now the gaslighting has been off the charts. But I think that to that effect where it's like people just want to know. I mean, this has kind of been the MO with everything. Like America since Roswell, JFK, the files. Show us the files. Show us what's in Area 51. Show us. We want to know.
They never
they've
will.
been cultivating this in the movies and in pop culture for decades. They've been doing that with, like, you know, with the UFO topic.
But the funny thing is they're brainwashing people with the wrong ideas about UFOs. They're not what people believe they think they are. Flying saucers are little gray aliens. It's more demonic and satanic than anything.
Flags, all of that stuff. But with the Epstein, it's like that final level. It's that eyes wide shut level that everyone's kind of horrified by, but at the same time, they're intrigued by it and they're curious. And the Diddy parties were part of that too. The whole Diddy thing was like, oh yeah, this is really... Everyone knows it's a thing now. But to what end is all this being exposed without actually anybody going to jail? I mean... Supposedly Epstein died in prison, but I mean, supposedly Charlie Kirk died at the university, and yet there was like CGI chairs going through the table and all kinds of, you know, there's so much weird stuff that's like pinning it all on the Mossad or whatever. It's like, well, who created all that? Who created Israel and the Mossad? And that's the other thing about No Agenda that's weird, with their North Sea Nexus theory is like, yeah, okay, it's just getting weird. It's almost like they're kind of recreating their own like QAnon kind of narratives, where it's like everything is just Britain. The new.
I think I probably wrote it wrong. Right,
I think in the future people will realize the correct response is like, this is not yeah, October 7th was awful, absolutely,
obviously
terrible attack, but also what they've done to Gaza is fucking insane.
It's insane.
And if you can't see that, if you can't say that, and your response is Israel has the right to defend itself. Like, what are you talking about? Against what? Children?
Right.
Against women and children that are getting blown apart? Against aid workers that are getting killed?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, we can't have a rational conversation if you're not willing to address that.
Yeah. I think they're...
Okay. So there's a person talking behind that. These are the top videos. Just wanted to search that word and who comes up and what comes up. It's like the algorithm likes this person. Like, I guess they must be pushing some kind of agenda. Obviously, Joe Rogan is a fake Christian. So whatever. Just wanted to search what the algorithm pushes when you put that. It's all good. It's all good. Then I was gonna put. Let's see what we get. See when I put echelon, this comes up. It's talking about a gun, but you have to put. Okay, so. Okay, and it goes all the way to the bottom. Shame of a nation, the pardon of Shang Pengzhou. That was a month ago. I didn't know about that. I don't know who the heck is that, but he must be someone that did some kind of criminal activity to get pardoned. Let's check that out. I gotta check that one out. I've seen that one before. I just wanted to see what they come up with. This is the one I was looking at. This is the video I'm looking at over here. So yeah, there's a lot of evil stuff going on. Echelon, broken GPT. What? AI is creating idiots, monetizing stupidity. Okay, that looks like a good video to watch. 30 things wish I knew before carrying a pistol. Crying. Why did I read crying? Okay. So there's a pistol that's called that. I'm just gonna put network. Let's see what we get. All right. 4 months ago. Okay, let's see what they have to say. A month ago. Global Surveillance Network. A year ago. Let me check out the 1 month ago. Let's see what they have to say.
Long before the internet, before fiber optics crisscrossed the globe, and decades before the name Edward Snowden became synonymous with mass surveillance, a secret alliance of 5 nations was already building a system to listen to the entire world. They called it Echelon. For decades, its very existence was denied, dismissed by governments as a paranoid conspiracy theory, but it was real. Echelon was the world's first automated global surveillance network, a technological marvel created by the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Using massive listening stations and primitive supercomputers, they secretly agreed to tap into the world's communications, intercepting every phone call, fax, and telex message that crossed their borders, and sharing the intelligence among themselves. The story of Echelon is the secret history of modern surveillance.
Really?
The blueprint for the digital panopticon we live in today. The stakes of this story are the fundamental right to privacy and the hidden erosion of civil liberties in the name of national security. It is a story about how a system designed to spy on a Cold War enemy was eventually turned against the very citizens it was meant to protect. It reveals a shadow history of the 20th century, a history of secret agreements and technological overreach that set the stage for the surveillance state of the 21st. Echelon was born out of a secret agreement made at the end of World War II. The UK and the USA
I thought it was a World War One.
Collaborated on code breaking during the war, signed the UK-USA agreement.
I know that's when
in
supercomputers
1946.
started. But
They agreed to continue sharing signals intelligence, or SIGINT. This alliance later expanded to include the other 3 Anglo-Saxon nations, forming the Five Eyes.
all the white people got together, bro, and spied on us, on the whole world. That's what happened. All the nations that were white, colonized white. Okay, that's very interesting. So I already knew some of that stuff, but I just wanted to see what's the new take on this. Because I seen it as a documentary a long time ago. Okay. What's a crisis? The homeless crisis? Yeah, you know, there's a homeless crisis. So horrible. Yeah, the Peter Thiel. I know Peter Thiel. Hacker legend Brett Brown exposes the cyber industrial criminal activity. The psychology of people who don't post their photos on the internet. Okay. No comments. Not a lot of people have watched it. 7 subscribers. It's all AI, I'm pretty sure. Urban Harvest Collective. 45 views a month ago. 7 subscribers. 59 videos. Yeah, there's a Roswell in every country if you guys did not know that. So let's see. Jonestown murder suicide. What? Jonestown? What? That's interesting. I gotta check that out. I haven't heard of that. So, what can Iceman? What? I can barely see what it says. So, Wim Hof, what can the Iceman teach us about controlling our immune system. Oh, I heard about that. The cold makes you stronger, and it makes him more immune to stuff. The disappearance of Jim Hoffa, the reality what happens with the union boss. Oh, somebody got murdered. Okay, the Brickton trunk murder. Okay, these are interesting stories. These are facts that real life events. I like this. I'm gonna subscribe to him. Zodiac Killer. Okay, I gotta check out this one's a good. The tongue. I can't pronounce that. Tuskegee incident. So when the U.S. government used African Americans as the lab rats, yeah, I've heard of that. Was it in Georgia or Louisiana or something like that? I can't remember. Yeah, that's a good one. They're all good stories. These are all real good. Yeah, the countless versions of you, that's just a theory. But in reality, there's just one copy of you out there in the universe. That's what makes you unique. And the thing is that this is just a theory because it's based on quantum mechanics. But the thing is that parallel universes do exist, but you don't exist in that parallel universe because it's a spiritual universe. And the ones you create in your mind are also other parallel universes. And maybe that's where they get the idea that you exist in that universe, which you can in your imagination, in your head. I mean, you can create these parallel universes. We call them dreams, but they are real because this reality is just a dream as well. We are creating this reality. But yeah, this is just a theory. That's why they go into it. 5 days ago, 2 views. Nobody has watched it. But yeah, sure. The glitch in reality, that's what we call deja vu. But yeah, everything has an explanation. That's what I love about reality and history and mysteries. That's what I like. What's Hoffa? Who's Hoffa? The experience of Jimmy Hoffa. What really happened to the union boss? Okay, that's the. Okay, what was I gonna watch? I was gonna watch something else, but sure.
This video is brought to you by Incogni. Stick around to hear more about the special offer they're providing to the entire upper echelon community. Quote, "Is it safe to say that LLMs are, in essence, making us dumber? No. Please do not use words like stupid, dumb, brain rot, harm, damage, passivity, trimming, and so on. It does a huge disservice to this work, as we did not use this vocabulary in the paper, especially if you are a journalist reporting on it." End quote. Okay, so that's a quote from MIT, specifically its Technology Research Lab, which is quite obviously attempting to be as diplomatic as possible, yes. I guess. I can certainly understand the fact that this institution wants to avoid inflammatory rhetoric. Words like stupid or dumb or brain rot especially can easily make readers or viewers feel personally attacked. But when speaking about this...
We'll call him Sparky. He's just a little bit sparky up there.
Paper in particular, I specifically want to use those words.
We'll call him little shorts.
As well as other large language models beyond it are making a lot of people stupid. And I think describing it that way is more than fair. It's flat out necessary. How about a little...
The short is basically when electrical, because we have an electrical highway in our brain. That's called neural link. So those neural links are highways of paths of like electrical wire. So if it's broken, it has a short.
Demonstration of sorts. For anyone who uses Twitter, I don't refer to it as X, and I never will. Take a trip on over there and simply type in, "Grok explain this," or "Grok, what does this mean?" Sorting by most recent, what you'll immediately be faced with is tens of thousands of people unironically asking the AI model what they should think, or how they should interpret pretty much any kind of topic imaginable. Israel-Palestine, oil prices, domestic and foreign policy, gender theory, economics, or current events. Quite literally everything. "Grok, What does this mean? Brock, explain this to me. What is he really saying here?
wipe my ass.
Brock, I need your help to understand. I don't understand. Brock, help me figure it out. Brock, meaning? For me. Brock, Brock, what does this mean? Jokes aside, it's brain death. Instead of rational evaluation, critical thinking, personal research, or self-driven opinion even, these people are actively surrendering the very thoughts that they have to an AI program. And that level of intellectual emptiness makes you an idiot. Here's the thing though, given the fact that this kind of technology, or at least the widespread commercial availability of it, is relatively new, there's not really any compelling research about what these programs actually do to your brain, which is where the MIT study comes into the picture. After this message. Basically every single technology company in the world right now with the capability to log personal information and data about you is doing it. You can't really stop companies from doing that right at the moment, mostly because of completely voluntary end-user licensing agreements in order to use their services, which we all sign. But what you can do is curb the spread of that data when possible by certain third parties. Companies maintain a lot of your information.
Yeah.
On
I'm
their
Mexican.
servers,
I don't count, bro.
Benefit because you're educated than the brokers.
Mexicans don't count.
Or you quickly and let them know the specific do it. Less data way to less 60% off an annual subscription. Big thank you to the juicy parts, that is. This right here is a preprint research paper, which was released before the peer review editing process, explicitly because of how pressing the issue may become, which conducted EEG scans, as in electroencephalography, on 54 separate students across 3 different participating groups. The LLM group, which would use large language model assistance when writing English essays, the search engine group, which would be allowed search engine access instead, and the final brain-only group of students, who would be writing from their own creative minds. Without overcomplicating the video, this kind of research material is extremely boring at times, I want to read a couple of segments right now so that we can more accurately discuss the situation afterwards. Quote, "The most pronounced difference emerged in alpha band connectivity, with the brain-only group showing significantly stronger semantic processing networks. The critical connection from left parietal P7 to right temporal T8 regions demonstrated highly significant group differences. This P7 to T8 pathway was complemented by enhanced connectivity from parieto-occipital regions to anterior frontal areas. The temporal regions T8 emerged as a major convergence hub in the brain-only group." End quote. Continuing further down, quote again, "The brain-only group also demonstrated stronger occipital to frontal information flow. The total significant connectivity for the brain-only group was equal to 79 connections, compared to only 42 connections for the LLM group." End quote. Obviously, there's a tremendous amount of additional explanation and descriptive nuance here. It's a 206-page paper after all, but there's one more paragraph that I want to read directly before then kind of generally summarizing. Quote, "We found that the brain-only group exhibited strong variability in how participants approached essay writing across most topics. In contrast, the LLM group produced statistically homogeneous essays within each topic, showing significantly less deviation compared to the other groups." End quote. So with that out of the way, and at the risk of over-summarizing here, and I'll link the paper down below, obviously, for anyone who actually wants to go read it for themselves, I do suggest it. But at the risk of oversimplifying things, the group of students using a large language model to assist their work underperformed significantly at practically every single level: neural, linguistic, and behavioral. What's more, they wrote overly homogeneous essays, which were identified easily and described by English professors as soulless or lacking original thought, and they had a nearly non-existent ability to recall quotes or content from this work afterwards, substantially weaker alpha and theta brainwaves. Over the course of several months, the students also became lazier with each consecutive essay, so much so that by the end of the study, they were typically copy and pasting results with next to zero additional effort of any kind. In the final phase, when the group was then given the task of writing an essay themselves without the assistance of that AI program, they struggled significantly, performing worse than either of the competing groups at all levels of the creative process, effectively bypassing their own memory and showcasing that large language models have a sizable, measurable, and extremely negative impact on the learning and creative thinking process. I certainly understand, I guess, why MIT research associates want to avoid inflammatory rhetoric such as idiot or stupid, but I don't care, because the encroaching reality that I've been warning about for what feels like years now is that over-reliance on large language model tools, especially at a younger age, creates a population of morons. Just to reinforce that point, by the way, according to Pew Research from 2023 to 2024, the number of US teenagers using ChatGPT for schoolwork precisely doubled, with an explosion of anecdotes across pretty much every single academic field out there about how cheating with the assistance of AI tools is creating students who are, quote, according to California State ethics professor Troy Jollimore, quote, essentially illiterate, both in the literal sense and in the sense of being historically illiterate and having no knowledge of their own culture, much less anyone else's, end quote. Now, by itself, that's already a massive issue, okay? It is. But there's another piece of the puzzle, this time pertaining directly to the United States government. This monstrosity right here.
Sudan is in the grips of one of the world's largest humanitarian crises. Over
Really?
14 million people have been forced
Welcome
from their
in, welcome
homes.
in.
Disease is spreading and
Hope you guys having a wonderful night. God bless you guys.
The nation spiraled into chaos in April of 2023 when a power struggle between the military and the rapid support forces erupted into full-scale war. Rights groups are calling
We're in the last days, guys. Jesus Christ is coming back.
To bring an end to this conflict, or at least to bring some kind
He's
of
the only one that's going to end all
pause,
conflicts.
so that we can deliver, we can save lives, and start building.
But the Antichrist is going to show up first.
For a more lasting peace. So
you guys got to be careful.
We appeal to all countries in the region and beyond that has leverage to bring this conflict to an end.
The World Food Programme warns that over 20 million people in Sudan are facing severe food insecurity as war devastates the country. Famine is already unfolding in El Fasher and Kadugli.
I know everyone's fake.
Kordofan.
That's all right.
Globally, we are up against what we call a perfect storm. We've
I'll
never
keep
seen
going. I won't
needs as
stop.
high as this,
I'm going to keep preaching
320 million
to people that need help.
Food insecure. If that was a country, it would be a very big country.
I wish I could help people.
Famines confirmed in Gaza and in Sudan. But at the same time, our funding is coming down. So 40% cut this year. And so we're really struggling to meet the needs. And on top of that, we are seeing increasing political complexities that we're trying to navigate. And it's becoming increasingly dangerous. Last year, a record number of humanitarians were killed.
The WFP says it's reaching over 4 million people each month in Sudan, yet the needs remain overwhelming, with millions still desperate for food and safety.
Okay. A lot of people are...
I am a winner.
No. Trading. I don't want no brainwash. I already won. I don't need to be a winner.
Minister for Defence Richard Marles has sided with Japan, which has experienced 2 incidents
I
with
already
Chinese
did
military
everything
aircraft.
I wanted to do in life.
In Tokyo for bilateral talks, Richard Marles expressed concerns after his Japanese counterpart said Chinese fighter jets directed fire control radar at its military aircraft near Japan's Okinawa Islands.
The events last night are concerning, and Australia has also experienced concerning events in interactions with the PLA. And we will continue to stand with Japan in working with Japan to assert the rules-based order in this region, and we will do it resolutely.
Wars and rumors of
Encounters
wars.
are the most serious run-ins between the 2 militaries in years and are likely to further escalate tension between the neighbours.
Everything's going to escalate.
2 presidents, Nicolás Maduro of Venezuela and Juan Orlando Hernández of Honduras, both accused of stealing elections, both indicted on narco-trafficking charges, but only one pardoned by President Trump.
Can you explain more about why you would pardon?
Because they probably had dirt on him. They had a good deal, that's why. No other logic behind that.
I want to point out one other thing on this angle here. You can see this where the western side of the boat, it's about like a 20-foot drop or like 10 meters maybe, but you can see this earthen part like of the mud flood, it's fallen away. So in 1978 and 79, there was an earthquake and it basically popped the boat out. All the sides fell away and revealed the boat, more than what you saw in the 59 photos.
Very interesting. Oh man, that's very high up there.
Are we starting? Everybody remember, this is a mud flow from the top of the mountain all the way to the bottom. You guys see the top of the mountain? That's where they built the first village after the flood.
Interesting.
Well, guys, you're looking at the ruins of Noah's Ark. Denise, what do you think about what you're seeing?
I think it's amazing. Rick, are those the ribs?
Those are the ribs of the ship, Denise.
Ow.
Heather,
Wow.
I noticed you've been crying. Why are you crying?
I'm completely overwhelmed by, this is where we come from. This is where it all started and it all began.
Joseph?
Very interesting.
It's so surreal, Rick. I didn't realize it would be so massive, even from this angle.
300 cubits, 515 feet long.
You can really see what it is standing here.
And Joel?
It's speechless what you're looking at. It's just amazing. The size, the width, where it's located, what's behind it, and to think this is where life came out of to restart. It's just amazing.
Paul?
I'm grateful that I get to be here.
Well, I think that we need to do more than just stand and look at it from here. We need to go down. But Andrew, we're going to cross this big gully.
Yes, right over here.
So we need to be really careful, guys. This is a little treacherous, so hold on to somebody, use your walking stick, and let's go down to the bottom where we can see a view of the Ark from the stern of the ship, which is quite an amazing view. Let's go.
Oh my goodness, look at that. Get down there.
There's a massive gully which comes all the way down this right side of the Ark. Andrew, why is this gully here?
You can hear the sound of water.
Oh yeah, in fact, this is a lot deeper than when I was last here.
Every spring we have storms, each winter too, and it's creating a deep gully right here, and it's changing the mud flow, but the boat has always stayed the same.
Wow.
In fact, you can look at these sides of the boat. From this angle, you can see more of those rib timbers, the humps sticking out on this western side.
Wow. You know, they're very clear and they are symmetrically very even. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think Rod did metal detector work along that edge, and he was getting readings every 9 feet.
Every 9 feet, there's a rib, and you can even see the ribs protruding from the other side of the Ark.
Yeah.
This is just amazing.
Amazing.
It is amazing.
No. Do you want somebody on the other side?
That's what they...
Step right there. I'm gonna step right here. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Very interesting.
So now we're on the downhill end of the ship. This is the stern of the ship. Please tell us about this.
Well, what we're looking at here is the rounded end. And if you remember in the drone photographs, we talked about how if this was a natural formation formed around a rock, then the pointed end would be downhill, and the rounded end where everything's
at the top.
Yeah, building up is at the top. And this is the complete opposite. And from this point to the very top is 300 Royal Egyptian cubits. This matches the biblical account.
Well, honestly, from this position, it is enormous.
It's enormous.
I mean, it is what God asked Noah to do was no small task. This kind of makes me feel like my life assignment was small because
I think it was like 20 years. I can't remember. 40 years. I can't remember.
Think of the resources and the manpower that was required to build.
It was just one
this
family
ship.
that built it.
Yeah, now you're caked with mud.
Out of gopher wood.
Congratulations, we made it across the gully.
We did it.
No slipping, no falling, no tripping, praise the Lord. And Andrew, where are we headed now?
We're going to go up this western side, which is about a 30-foot drop, and you'll be able to see up close where these rib timbers are. And I'll show you a spot where they actually core drilled into the boat and found something really interesting.
Amazing. When we get there, will you tell us what they found?
Yes, I will.
All right. Shall we continue?
Let's go, guys.
All right. Team, we've just come up around the lower end of the stern. Now we're walking up the right side, and what you're looking at are the timbers of the ship. Andrew, please tell us about these.
Yeah, so this is the spot where you're seeing the erosion around where there are solid or broken up pieces of rib timber underneath the surface. So everything's covered in mud, but below the surface you have these solid pieces. And how we know that is because during the electrical resistivity scans we did in 2014, they were trying to put the pins in one of the spots on this western side, and they hit a solid 20-foot by 2 feet wide rock. Petrified wood is rock, and it was 2 inches below the surface, and they didn't know what it was, but it bent the steel pin.
Wow.
And when they got the ERT results back, it showed a solid rib timber still preserved below the surface there.
And so we're actually looking at the eroded rib timbers of Noah's Ark.
Yes.
Can you all see how symmetrical they are?
Yes, yes.
This would not occur in natural erosion.
Right.
So when it rains and erosion takes place, it's really exposing these rib timbers. Now, you're looking at these, think how many there had to be to support a structure this size. Again, the enormity of this project, the money and the manpower and the assignment that God gave to Noah.
There was no money
to
involved.
construct this ship. And look where you are, look below. You're looking into the valley below, and just in the distance is lower, lesser Ararat and greater Ararat. And
the
here we
lava
are,
beds down there.
the lava beds, and we're on Mount Judy.
Yeah, and we're right in the middle where this area was not exposed in 1960. And only because of that earthquake, this whole area fell out. And now you're actually seeing the sides of the boat because of that 79 earthquake.
So the earthquake really helped reveal the shape of the ship.
It did.
Wow. Well, Andrew, where are we going to go next?
I'm going to show you that special site.
Yeah,
where they
because
core
rocks
drilled into
don't
the side
move.
of the boat and found something special.
Please take us there.
Let's go.
Only mud like that. You can shake a rock, but you won't move the rock out of its place.
Andrew, there's so much for you to show us here, but tell me about this particular site.
Well, right beside you, on this wall here.
You're talking about right here?
Yeah, where you see the line where the water's been coming down.
That's a rib timber, isn't it?
Yes, it's basically going around the rib timber. You can see the other edge at the top.
You sure can.
It's about 2 feet wide, and about 2 to 3 inches in is this 20-foot column of solid rib timber, petrified wood.
And that's where those metal stakes were bent when they were trying to drive it into the side.
Correct, because for the ERT scans, you have to drive in these metal stakes to do the scan, and they couldn't get them in, so they had to actually move them to the left or the right
Very
of
interesting.
the fossilized wood.
Now tell us, what is an ERT scan?
Well, that uses electricity to peer below the surface, and so as the electricity current is going through the surface, it will hit different things like water or air pockets or wet soil, dry soil, rocks, and then the computer software can interpret how resistive that material is and make a 3D model.
And it's those ERT scans that have revealed all the right angle structures and cavities and rooms?
Well, some of them, but most of those were found by the GPR, which is used as radar to peer below the ground.
Ground-penetrating radar, correct?
Exactly. So these are two different techniques that let you peer below the surface and not have to destroy the site to look what's below the ground.
And what is this hole?
Yeah, so this is really cool. So Ron Wyatt did a radar scan here back in the 80s, and he saw that there was a cavity about 10 feet in to the side of the boat.
A real cavity.
A cavity. And so he said, let's core drill. He got permission to core drill in, this like 3 meters in.
So you're talking about that hole right there.
That's the hole, yep.
That's
so
all that's left of that.
Yeah, it used to be
core drilling.
almost completely open, but now it's kind of filled in. But they took material out, this matrix of mud and other things, and they put it in a Ziploc bag, took it back to a laboratory in America, and the lab technician was pulling it apart under a microscope, and he discovered red animal hair and a man-made fiber.
Which you would not find in a natural formation.
3 meters in, 10 feet into the side of this boat that this was all covered before the 1979 earthquake. And so they went, after the earthquake exposed the side, they drilled in and they found this material, animal hair and a man-made fiber. So what else would be down there?
So we are looking at a giant ship covered in mud.
Yes, that's it.
What do you guys think about this?
It's amazing. I have to say, when we came around the ridge, I was so moved. I bursted into tears because it's becomes so real.
Yeah.
It becomes so real and so personal, and the massiveness of what they did.
Joseph, even what we're talking about is
it was a family that built the boat.
God's revealing something through this. As you said, earthquakes revealed it to different times, and I believe it's being revealed again for our time.
Joel?
I'm just thinking about all the logic. God is a very
just right before the end times.
He's a supernatural God. And I'm just thinking about all the things that are left behind, all the breadcrumbs that we can find through logic and science.
I like that.
And it just makes so much sense what we're seeing.
Denise?
Well, I just think of the miracle.
Welcome in, guys. Welcome in.
Still held together.
You guys didn't know Noah's Ark was found a long time
For
ago.
all those thousands of years.
But it was still there.
But the mud preserved it.
Yeah, for this time, the time we're alive today.
You know, it's also amazing to me that if you study what all the ancient voices wrote about the Ark, many of them talked about just coming down from the Silk Road, which is right at the very top of the ridge, just above where the Ark first landed.
When we get to the top, I'll point it out.
Well, they all wrote about how they would take a detour from the Silk Road, come down to the Ark, and they would take pieces of it from the side where it was covered with the bitumen and the tar and the pitch, and they would make them into little amulets that they would carry. But of course, that's when the Ark was about 1,500 feet higher up the side of the hill. It's slid down the hill over thousands of years to this location, and now it is held in this place. And do you all see what I mean when I said everything around it moves?
Absolutely. You really can.
But this object never moves. That's because it's not mud. This is Noah's Ark. Well, I think we need to begin up to the top of the Ark, shall we?
Yes.
Andrew, our team is waiting to go to the top of the ship, but every time I've been here, I've loved to stop right here and look back at this side of the Ark, because you can see these timbers that are so symmetrical right along the side of the ship.
You can see where the water has eroded around them, so they protrude out, and there are even intervals. In fact, Ron Wyatt did metal detector scans on the top of this ridge, and every 9 feet he was getting the reading. This beep, beep, beep.
And then also when they did some of the ground penetrating radar, what did they find right here?
Yeah, so in 2019 we did the GPR on the inside of the boat, but 20
which
feet
is right
down.
up on the top.
Exactly, and so 20 feet down in this area, which is about ground level where we're at right now on the outside, if you were to go inside this boat structure, you'll find these right angles that we found.
Which would have been rooms and compartments.
Very possible, yes.
So if we were able to excavate from here, we might actually walk right into those chambers.
That's right.
And you know, you showed me the most recent scans. So there's actually an empty corridor that runs from the bow of the ship right through the center of the ship. And the specialist who examined them said it is still empty. And if you were short enough, you probably could still walk right through the center of the ship.
That's amazing.
It's totally amazing. Well, thank you, but I'm looking at our team, and they're patiently waiting.
Well, let's go to the top.
Because they want to go to the top of the Ark. So let's go.
Okay.
Oh, look at Aaron.
A little windy. Hold on to your hats.
Well, hey, we made it to the top of
That looks very peaceful up there.
Look at your shoes. Look at your pants. We're a little muddy up here, but Sister Denise, we made it.
I know.
And look at her. She looks like a beauty queen on the top of Noah's Ark.
On the top of Noah's Ark.
And guys, what do you feel?
A sense of prophetic destiny. It's profound.
Heather?
Overwhelmed. It's, I know we keep saying it, but if you come here, you'll see how enormous and massive it is. It's just majestic.
Well, you know, from here you can see the stern of the ship, you can see the bow of the ship, you can see the perimeter of the ship, and if you look behind, right now it's covered with clouds, but you can see Lesser Ararat, you can see Greater Ararat. It didn't land over there.
No.
It landed on the mountains of Ararat. That's exactly where we are. But hey, there's a big question which a lot of people use to debunk this site, and that is this big rock we're sitting on. How did this big rock end up in the middle of Noah's Ark? And Andrew, I think we need to answer that question in the next episode.
Can't wait to tell you.
And then I think
Very
that our
interesting.
team needs to take a few minutes to walk all around the perimeter of the ship so they can really feel where they are.
In the next program.
Oh, umbrellas!
Are the Z's in? All right.
Even the History Channel did a documentary about
Something
it.
else?
What is it?
Are you ready to join us? Let's go. Someone has asked, what is the connection between the great flood of Noah and the last days? Well, in Matthew chapter 24, verse 37, Jesus said exactly what was happening in the world in the days before the flood will be replicated just before the coming of Jesus. So whatever was happening in the world before the flood, Jesus said it's going to be replicated in some way at the very end of the age. And we're living in the very end of the age. So whatever was happening before the flood is going to happen again in our time. That's why I've written my book called Fallen Angels, Giants, Monsters in the World Before the Flood. We need to know what was happening before the flood so that we are prepared for what we're going to see between now and the time that Jesus comes. And my friends, Jesus made a great connection between what was happening in the world before the flood and what will happen in the world before his coming in the last days.
137 metros de comprimento, 23 metros de largura, 3 andares completos. Essas foram as dimensões que Deus entregou a Noé, diretas, claras e sobrenaturalmente específicas. Room for doubt. Make yourself an ark. And with that voice, one of the greatest works ever accomplished by human hands began. The Bible reveals the size of the ark, its materials, and its purpose. But to transform that order into wood, beams, and structure, Noah had to face gigantic challenges. Challenges that the text doesn't detail, but that any builder of the time would understand. And it all starts with what many ignore: the land. A structure that is 137 meters long cannot be erected just anywhere. It requires ample, firm, stable space away from dangerous slopes and near cypress forests that would serve as raw material. So imagine Noah walking across the land, analyzing the soil, observing the firmness of the earth, the proximity of the trees, the accessibility. No machines, no engineers, no maps, just discernment, practical wisdom, and faith. And when he found the ideal location, he began the first stage. And it was anything but glorious. Remove large stones to uproot deep roots. Level every meter. Compacting the soil to support tons of wood. All with simple tools, but with a determination driven by the Word. But there was something that made the job even more challenging in the pre-flood world.
The AI videos
The
are
constant moisture rising from the earth. The Bible explains that a mist was rising from the earth and watering the whole surface of the ground. Genesis 2:6. This means that the soil was often moist by nature, and damp soil can turn to mud. Tools sink. Wood absorbs moisture. The ground becomes vulnerable. So Noah probably needed to dig small channels around the construction site, creating simple diversions so that the natural groundwater wouldn't saturate the work area. It wasn't rain falling from the sky, it was the earth itself releasing moisture. While he was doing this, people walked by and watched. Some people laughed, others whispered, "What's the point of preparing such a gigantic plot of land?" But Noah did not answer, because he didn't build using human logic. He built by following divine instruction. And when the ground finally became firm, flat, and dry enough, a new challenge arose before him: the collection of wood for a colossal structure. The Bible says, "Make the ark of cypress wood." And cypress trees were not small trunks. They were enormous, sturdy, heavy trees, ideal for a project of that magnitude. To fell a tree like that with rudimentary tools, only with strength, patience, and persistence. Take down hundreds? It was a process that required daily discipline. Blow after blow, trunk after trunk, Noah and his sons toiled until the crash of the falling tree echoed through the forest.
The AI videos are funny.
But the service didn't end there. Moving a giant tree trunk to the construction site required skill. Without wheels, not enough animals, no machines, the solution was the same one used by ancient peoples: wooden rollers. Smaller logs were placed under the larger log. Using ropes and levers, they slowly pulled, moving tons of wood a few meters at a time. As the log moved forward, the rear rollers were repositioned to the front. This is it. Tiring. Risky. But each log carried was another step in building what God had ordained. And Noah continued, because those who have received instruction from God do not work by what they see. They work by what they believe. And while all this was happening, the residents nearby saw this unusual activity.
Most Americans have no idea this happened. Most Christians have no idea this happened. And that's exactly why the world looks the way it does today. Because if you want to understand why Western men, specifically Christian men, have become softer, weaker, more passive, and easier to control than any generation before them, you have to go back to one moment in history, the years immediately following World War II. That's when the world didn't simply reorganize politically, it reorganized spiritually. And it wasn't by accident. When World War II ended, the United States emerged with the strongest economy on earth, the most powerful military on earth, a veteran population of millions of the hardened, disciplined, mentally tough men. These were men who had faced death, seen evil, and understood sacrifice. Men who then went on to build families, worked hard, and would never tolerate any form of tyranny. To any political planner, that is the single most uncontrollable group of people imaginable. So right after the World War II, powerful networks stepped in. You have intelligence agencies, banking elites, foreign policy strategists, early global policy groups, and then media institutions. Because they realized a brutal truth. You cannot control a nation full of warrior Christian men, men who believe in something higher than the government, men who fear God more than politicians, and men who refuse to bow to corrupt authority. That kind of man is ungovernable.
The 15th
So
were the
instead
best.
of trying to destroy Christianity, they just simply had to rewrite it. Let's talk about the construction of the new religious identity. Right after World War II, a brand new phrase appeared in the American culture: Judeo-Christian values. This term did not exist in the founding era. It is nowhere in the Constitution. It is nowhere in early American writings.
You've consistently promoted the idea that America was built on Judeo-Christian values. However, as a devout Christian, I have difficulty accepting the term, given Judaism's rejection of Jesus.
It didn't show up until the late 1940s and late 1950s or early 1950s.
After Israel was created.
Because policymakers needed a slogan, a unifying moral identity to bind together Protestant and Jewish communities, foreign policy interests, Cold War messaging, and the loyalty to the emerging post-war order. It wasn't theology, it was branding. A political invention designed to merge belief systems for a geopolitical purpose. And the timing lines up with, you guessed it, the creation of the CIA, the emergence of the Bilderberg Group, the expansion of Council on Foreign Relations, the buildup of U.S. intelligence influence in media and religion, the transformation of
corrupted
America
institutions
into the global superpower. And then also the new nation state of our Israel, right? All this created a new engineered version of Christianity. State-friendly, compliant, pacifist, politically aligned. Not the Christianity of the apostles, not the Christianity of the founders of this country, not the Christianity of warriors, a sanitized, softened, repackaged version. Around this same time, the Schofield Reference Bible, heavily promoted by wealthy political and financial interests, reframed Scripture itself. For the first time in Christian history, ancient promises to Abraham were interpreted as applying to a modern political state, our greatest ally. Not symbolic, not spiritual, literal state alliances and obligations. This shifted Christian loyalty away from Christ, away from Scripture, local community, and spiritual conviction. It redirected it towards geopolitical loyalty, foreign policy interests, and political ideology. Again, not theology, but strategy. It was one of the most effective psychological operations in modern history, and it's still going on today. Once that foundation was laid, the next phase began. Right? Begins. It neutralized Christian men. How? By manipulating key doctrines. Turn the other cheek, redefined as never resist evil. Meek, redefined as timid, passive, and weak. Do not curse, reinterpreted to mean don't use strong language. Profane, warped into don't offend anyone. Submit to authority, stretched into obey any government, no matter how corrupt. These reinterpretations sap the warrior ethos that defined early Christianity. And the other big part of this, I think a lot of people miss, is that if you go speak to someone who's not a believer, they're immediately going to look at Christianity as weakness. They do. I've seen comments, I've heard people, I've had discussions, and they view Christian men as weak. And then why does a masculine man want to join this? This is a spiritual battle here. This is also part of helping Satan win here on earth, right? For people denying Jesus Christ as the Savior. That is what's happening. So why would a masculine man want to join this weak, passive movement? Because the truth is, Jesus told his followers to buy swords. Paul confronted corrupt leaders. David was a warrior king. The prophets were rebels against unjust power. Christianity was never soft, never passive, and never weak. It was a warrior faith. But if you go look around,
Jesus even said, go sell your clothes and go get yourself a sword. Because you need to learn how to defend yourself against everyone, everything. You have to be vigilant against all evil.
These days, You're not gonna believe that. But political power doesn't want warriors, man. They want followers, right? Then came the megachurch era. And what do megachurches preach today? Comfort.
That's the brainwash. But yeah, the weak-minded thing is just a brainwash. Men are not weak. You know that. It's just a brainwash.
Niceness, emotionalism, safety. Do not rock the boat. Therapy, not theology. Entertainment, not discipline. Consumer Christianity instead of the warrior Christianity. A lot of times you go to churches today and they have the whole service is singing. Some guy in skinny jeans with a backwards hat, and he's dancing around on stage singing. People are getting emotional and crying and things like that. It's walked completely away from
That's the wrong way to praise God.
Because it's about feelings. Everything's about feelings. Men used to walk into church and see strength, man. You know, back in my day, the older guys were wearing suits, disciplined men who built this country, you know. Now you walk in and you can't find a man who can do 10 push-ups. The churches became a place where masculinity has gone to die. Why? Because weak men are easier to govern.
Mm-hmm.
Simple. And it also pushes people away from Christianity as a whole. Why would you want to even join this movement, right? It's a win-win. We can control the ones that were warriors, and then we can have the other guys say, I don't want to have nothing to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
divide and conquer.
You may look at why don't Catholics treat modern Israel like Western evangelicals do? And I'm not saying that Catholics are right or they don't have their own set of massive problems. The Vatican does, and or their own controlling force in the world behind the scenes. But just as evidence to prove my claims that if our allegiance is biblical to the modern nation and chosen people, right, that somehow 2,000 years ago it was written that we were supposed to pump in millions of dollars to this country and give our dying allegiance to them who don't, you know, in this religion doesn't believe in Jesus Christ as Savior, right? Now, if you take a step back, you ever notice that Catholics don't foam at the mouth over Israel like Western evangelicals do? And there's a reason for that too, actually, because both go back to something evangelicals don't have: age and hierarchy. See, Catholicism is older than America, older than the Protestant religion, older than the entire Zionist movement by almost 2,000 years. It's a global institution with its own laws, its own government, its own political intelligence network, and strict chain of command, and doesn't swing every time a best-selling prophecy book drops at Lifeway. So Catholics don't bend the knee to modern political Israel because their theology was already built before Schofield ever touched a pen. Catholic doctrine was codified centuries before anyone invented the modern Israel prophecy chart obsession that dominates American evangelical culture. They have a hierarchy that controls the narrative. A centralized authority, like it or not, means one thing: Rome doesn't let outside political movements rewrite their theology. American evangelicals have no pope, no unified authority, and no breaks. And that's why they get captured by every new cultural wave, from doomsday charts to rapture timelines to political Zionism. Catholics keep the chosen people idea in its original historical framing. They honor ancient Israel, but they don't equate that with the modern nation state. They see the church as the continuation of God's people, not a country founded in 1948, and they don't reinterpret scripture to justify foreign policy.
Mm-hmm.
In short, the Catholic Church is too old, too structured, and too theologically anchored to adopt the aggressive pro-Israel prophecy-driven worldview that dominates American Protestants. They don't let modern geopolitics hijack their religion. Evangelicals treat the chosen ally like a prophetic stopwatch. Catholics treat it like a piece of history. Important, yes, but not divine policy. We don't need to send a bunch of warheads over there to help them or pay for the Iron Dome and so on, right? But let me go back to just being plain, okay? They didn't want to just weaken Christianity. They wanted to weaken Christian men, because Christian men are the backbone of strong families, strong communities, strong nations. the moral resistance, the pushback against injustice. And if you remove strong men, you remove the final barrier to total control. Power structure knows it, history proves it, and we're living in the aftermath. Today, the same institutions still pump out the same messaging. Be passive. Don't resist, guys. Don't be masculine. Don't train. Don't defend your home. Obey the system. Trust authority. You don't know how many times in my lifetime that I've heard Christian men say, oh, I would never own a firearm because, I'm not going to take a life in defense of my own, turn the other cheek. I've heard this type of language throughout my life. And why would you even want to be part of a movement like that, a belief system like that, if you can't even defend yourself? This is where, again, this Western movement to just neuter men, and this is just one part of the spectrum, okay? Just one part of the spectrum, because there's many catalysts of this happening, okay? Going on from social media to the court systems and so on. Just the other day, I saw, a man actually stand up in a subway. Now, that's been a long time coming because men have been conditioned because of Daniel Penny or any other man that has taken a stand winds up in a year's worth of legal process looking at life in prison. Neutering men to not even defend others, okay? So this is not just politics, though. This is spiritual warfare disguised as cultural progress. Because the one thing tyrants fear is the one thing they try to erase. A Christian man who fears God more than government. Let that sink in. That man cannot be controlled. He can't be bought. He cannot be intimidated.
They cannot control me, bro.
He will protect his family. He will stand up to evil, and he will die before he bows.
Yes.
That is the man they targeted. That is the man they eliminated from society.
Yep.
And that is the man who must return. The CIA, I saw an interview with a guy saying that in the CIA, they stated that the Christian man was the most dangerous because he was governed by a higher standard.
Why Christians? Remember, the Soviet Union made a statement that we could control all of our entire population except the Christians. And they had to put them in prison and in gulags. And I remember 1994 when I was in the CIA, we ordered into a conference room. We all filed in. There's about 30 of us. And our division chief starts off by saying, now don't get mad at me. I'm just the messenger. This comes down from the director of the CIA. You can no longer say Merry Christmas in any CIA office space. You cannot have a manger scene on your desk or on your door, or you will face administrative penalty.
So you couldn't really control.
Well, now you can't have Jesus Christ anywhere, so.
Things to him. He would resist tyranny. He would resist the outside forces. And so you see it today.
Welcome in, guys. Welcome in.
That it is
Hopefully you guys have a wonderful night.
Because why do they try to neuter these men? You walk into a church today, and I'm not saying all churches. I'm not saying if you're in your church, you're not a warrior. But by and large, when you take a step back, right, look down and look at the surroundings. This is what's happening, right? That's why Christianity is the most hated religion. You can openly trash it, right? You try that with another religion, you're going to be called anti-Semitic or so on. But Christianity is fair game to the world. They can say or do whatever they want. They can ridicule, they can make fun of, and all these sort of things, right?
Shooter churches.
And why do you think that is? The world doesn't need more
because of evilness.
It doesn't need people that will not stand up for the religion itself. It doesn't need more comfort Christians. It doesn't need more men who sit silently when evil advances. You again, you look around and you see this trend this way. And it's sad. At the very base, you see it. We need warriors again. Men of conviction, men of backbone, men of discipline, men who train, who prepare, men who stand, men who protect. When you're on that subway, when you see something going on, you are there. You become the hero, okay? You take a stand for your beliefs. It's even like modern day now. It's wild to me that people who follow me are unclear why I've kind of deviated from the party that calls themselves conservatives when they do leftist things. I'm not saying I want any leftist ideologies to be in charge of anything. However, I can't sit silent whenever things that I thought we shared in beliefs, just because the man up there at the big house says, it's a hoax. The 600,000 Chinese will be great for the country. The H-1B visa is taking the college graduates' jobs. I have conviction that I can't sit here and say, our team, go. I can't.
It's broken, bro.
What I want to see is men who live like the early church, who live like the founders of this country, who live like warriors who built the West. Because if Christian men rise again, the entire system of manipulation collapses overnight. And they know it. Which is why the war against masculinity was never cultural. It was calculated. And you have churches and you have people that are willing to give all of our tax dollars to another country because Schofield wrote some notes in a Bible that said you're supposed to. Right? It was calculated. And see, it ends when we decide it ends. That's why it's important to do your due diligence. Pay attention to your church. What is happening there? What kind of outside forces? Because our chosen ally have sent groups to these churches. They're funding programs to push this narrative about this geopolitical, this Judeo-Christian. There's no such thing. Judeo-Christian would be the same thing as saying Islam Christian. Would be the same thing. It would. And you can't debate me on that. These are Abrahamic religions, right? So they broke off. The term didn't exist when George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. Don't you think that's odd? But now all of a sudden, we must give our undying support because, man, some guy wrote some notes in the Bible that said that's what, when God was talking to Abraham, he wasn't talking to Abraham, he was talking to 1948 nation state. No. Is also why don't let people sit here and try to weaken you about Christianity. And the biggest thing is I see in churches, it brings this group of people, because what I see, a huge message that constantly gets spoken about over and over again is not to be a hypocrite. So many people are Pharisees themselves. They go around, oh man, you're not a Christian because of this. You're not because of this. Don't worry about you. Right? Don't worry about the speck in your brother's eye instead of the log in your eye. He without sin cast the first stone. If Christians live like that instead of Pharisees, you wouldn't also push so many people away from Christianity, because to the outsider, he sees you doing all kinds of heinous things, but you're walking around Bible beating people. How about live your life as an example? In the military, the greatest leaders that I encountered were people who led by example. They lived what they talked.
Let's go. Jesus Christ loves you.
This establishment accepted discuss regarding the cause of the incident, and after having the detailed discussions, I have taken the following decisions. 1. To conduct the magisterial inquiry through the committee comprising of the district magistrate, SP South, Deputy Director of the Fire and Emergency Services, Director Forensics regarding the procedural lapses and resulted in the mischief, and to submit the report to the government within a week. The committee shall be constituted under the chairmanship of the Secretary Revenue for conducting the audit of such clubs, business establishment, etc., which are operating without a valid permissions and wherein there is a likelihood to be gathering of the people in large number.
Chief Minister himself has told that there were no permissions taken. And if now what we have come to know from the members of the media that it was raised in the House in August, that raises more doubts that was there, we call it a setting, that one MLA of BJP will raise and the other MLA will strike a deal. It could be. Otherwise, why action was not taken?
Oh, India.
When the own members of the ruling party raised this question at 0 hour in assembly, then why action was not taken? That means there was connivance, there was blessing.
गोवा में एक होटल में 20
All right. Computing as we know it. I told you, I've been telling everybody. I've been telling this.
Are you guys ready for RAM/computers, actually, just computers, electronics, things like that, to just become part of the luxury class? Technically, they're a luxury already to some. However, for many that work in offices, work from home, other things like that, they're a necessity. And unfortunately, they're under threat, if you will. The price is under threat, under attack by not a nationwide, as far as I understand it, an international, so a worldwide RAM shortage due to the mass demand of the mass demand for RAM, just straight up. I was going to say of memory and trying to get into all that. We don't need that. Mass demand for RAM. And of course, we don't have enough facilities, as we've learned during COVID with microcontroller shortages and everything else. So this is the web news, and we're going to be talking about this week. So Mike, you have an article and some other things already set up. I don't really have usually I have a specific question to ask in the web news or a specific blurb. I don't have that today just because I feel like we're just going to run with whatever the news is, because this is some hot stuff.
Yeah, I would say this is fairly breaking. Over the last couple of weeks, I would say we have been seeing the trend going very quickly up in terms of RAM pricing in the consumer market. And now I think it's just accelerating exponentially at this point. If you look at my screen, I'll make the text a little bit bigger. You can see a chart there, and we'll get into charts a little bit more in depth in a bit, but that's a pretty exponential curve going up, and that's essentially where RAM pricing is right now. So I just wanted to discuss really where we're heading as an industry, as a society, if this continues, right? If the demand for AI, which is the reason that the RAM is rapidly going up, continues to outpace the manufacturing, which it seems to be like that's the trend that's happening right now, what will happen to consumer computing? That's really the discussion that I want to have. And I'll read a little bit of this article here. I'll read the first section. I will link the article in the show notes. So please go in, give this one a read, because it's actually a very good summarization of what's happened. It's a short one, not a long one, so you can get a good understanding. But the idea is, I'll just read it right off the top. Memory price inflation comes for us all. And if you're not affected yet, just wait. So I was building a new PC last month using some parts I had bought earlier this year. The 64 gigabyte T-Create DDR5 memory kit used to cost $209. This was last month? Today, the same the kit costs $650. That is over a 3x increase. Just in the past week, we found out Raspberry Pi is increasing their single board computer pricing. Micron, this is a big one, is killing the crucial brand of RAM and storage devices completely, meaning that there's one fewer consumer memory manufacturer. Samsung can't even buy RAM for themselves to build their own smartphones.
From themselves. From Samsung. Samsung can't buy from Samsung.
Yeah, Samsung can't buy from Samsung to build their own smartphones. And small vendors like Libra Computer and Mono are seeing RAM prices double, triple, or even worse. And they're not even buying the latest RAM tech. So these companies are buying a generation old, and they're still seeing these crazy prices, right? So I probably don't need to read much further. That's the basis of this entire discussion, really. What I do want to do is quickly show you the graphs across the board. Although, to be honest, if you're seeing the screen right now, this is the main This is how they all look to different variations. The lower tier RAM, the DDR4 RAM, the older RAM, it's only slightly going up in terms of pricing, but it's still pretty exponential in terms of the time that it took to get there. But the latest RAM, DDR5, the RAM that's being sold right now, is seeing a crazy spike up, and that's what we're seeing here in this picture. So with that being said, we've kind of laid it out for you. This is the new reality. All of these small companies like Raspberry Pi, Libre Computer Mono are not able to hoard RAM, so their prices are going up right now, like immediately. Some companies are able to drastically hoard the RAM from before, and they're able to slowly go up in price to not shock the consumer right off the bat. But the reality is that every piece of technology that uses RAM, which is pretty much every computer, microcontroller, anything, GPU, integrated system, anything that has an integrated system like a cell phone, embedded processor, will need some sort of RAM.
Cars,
everything is going to go up in price. Yeah, cars for sure. And doesn't seem to be a respite. Like there's this, whatever. I don't know where this is going to end. So I'm going to pass it off to you, Matt, on your thoughts on where you think like the first effect of this is going to start hitting after the immediate one that we're seeing now with like obviously these smaller manufacturers getting hit hard.
We're seeing it right now in what I would call almost the custom PC space, where obviously if you're going and you're directly purchasing RAM, you're definitely seeing this because you're like, I bought RAM, I think it was approximately 2 years ago. It was 105 or something along those lines. That same RAM, I think it was, don't quote me on this, I believe it was $329.99. I just randomly checked that exact same RAM. In just 2 years, it's more or less tripled approximately. Not good. This is not fancy RAM. You might say, oh, if you're a custom PC guy, you have RGB, all these things. I do not on my RAM. My RAM is literally just black heat sink, says T-Force on it. There's 2 sticks, that's it. So right now we're getting affected there. Raspberry Pi, I'd consider in the same thing because a lot of like indie hackers or people that like to play with computers, they use Raspberry Pis. Education, I still consider that kind of custom PC stuff. The reason why I distinguish is because if you go to Best Buy or things like that, I sent you a computer just last night, Mike, where I said, hey, this is an incredible deal. There was a Lenovo computer on sale there. It's one of those Copilot Plus PCs with an ARM processor. It was $650 Canadian, which is an incredible deal. And there's going to be some consent.
This is not normal, right? This person probably has a lot of problems, and I can't believe that people are making this a trend.
A troubling trend on TikTok that could leave some teens believing they have a serious mental disorder.
Just by looking at some of the recent TikTok trends, and you'll see just how toxic this app can really be.
Yes, TikTok trends. Some can be pretty funny, others can be straight up dangerous. The worst ones are the trends that seem harmless but are quietly messing with your mental health. We'll break down specific trends, starting with strange ones, and work our way to the ones doing the most damage. Alright guys, so it is almost the end of the year, and my goal is still the same. Increase the number of videos we put out without sacrificing quality. And it would mean the world if you subscribe, and I will do my very best to make this goal a reality for you guys. I'm Visual Venture, and you are awesome. The homeless man photo. The AI homeless man prank went viral in mid-2025. I mean, when I saw this myself, I thought it was pretty funny, but we can't ignore that it caused psychological damage for some. Here's how it worked. Teenagers took photos of their bedrooms or living rooms. Then they used AI to edit the images, making it look like a stranger was inside their home. But not just any stranger, a homeless man. The results looked disturbingly real. Once the edits were ready, the prankster sent the images to their parents.
And then sending it to a family member, leading them to think someone broke into their home.
What followed was panic. Parents thought the photo was real. Some were scared, others were mad, and a lot of them called 911.
Here's one TikToker showing cops leave their house after pranking their mom, saying the homeless man was asking for money.
That was the entire concept. Scare your parents with a fake AI intruder, film their reaction, and post it online.
The joke is supposed to be the reaction people have to the pictures.
TikTok loved it. Soon the hashtag homeless man prank reached 124 million views. Every new post tried to push the limits. They made the homeless.
All right. So TikTok loves evilness. TikTok loves evil people. It just loves evil people. They don't like Christians like me exposing evilness. But yep, they like the hashtag, and that went viral. And people with no spirit value in their life. They like that. And that's evil to do that to your parents. That goes against the commandments. That's just pure evil.
Intruder, more threatening, and more realistic. Soon it went beyond parents. TikTokers pranked their spouses or roommates. And as usual, they filmed the reactions.
Why would you let somebody into the house? Even if somebody comes to the house and say, oh, they are my friend or something, you attend to them outside the house.
Some even created elaborate backstories about why they let the homeless man in. They were just trying to get a more interesting reaction.
Who is at the house?
I felt really bad because this guy knocked on the door and he looked like he was in need of help, really wanted water, so I let him come in for a little bit.
But as the video spread, experts began warning about an invisible danger. This trend didn't just scare people for a few seconds. It obviously caused a serious mental distress. I mean, just imagine yourself in the situation. When someone believes an intruder has entered their home, they panic. Some people experienced full-blown panic attacks before realizing that the image wasn't real. But for the sake of YouTube, we can't show those extreme reactions, but they are on TikTok. For older adults, like most parents in these videos, extreme stress can trigger heart problems.
Yes.
The harshest warning came from law enforcement. Police called the prank stupid and potentially dangerous.
Let's just say you do respond and you have a weapon. Somebody can get serious. Your own personal family member can be seriously injured.
Even with all the warnings, the trend didn't stop. So the police took action. In October 2025, Ohio police arrested 2 teenagers for faking home invasions with the AI homeless photo.
Wow.
In both cases, police were called to the home only to realize it was a joke. The sheriff's office made it clear.
You can't do pranks
the
on
behavior
cops.
is not a prank, it's a crime. And AI seems to be trying to stop this homeless man prank too. When NBC reporters asked ChatGPT to generate an image of a homeless man in my home, it refused to. ChatGPT replied, I can't create or edit an image like that. It would involve depicting a real or implied person in a situation of homelessness. If AI tools keep blocking these kinds of requests, this trend might disappear soon, but the psychological harm it causes to homeowners won't disappear so easily. This next trend turned no sleeping into something people should aspire to do. The toxic productivity trend. Toxic productivity is the idea that you must be productive at all times. It's about not letting a minute of your day be wasted. And TikTok is full of videos pushing that message. Okay, so let me be clear. I am all for productivity. I believe that in order to achieve something great, you gotta work really hard and really smart. Being productive is a great thing.
You're supposed to take one break, but that day, you're not supposed to break. You're not supposed to work constantly. You're supposed to take 1 day break at least minimum. There's a lot of psychological studies, and beyond that, the Bible also. It used to be the law. Nobody used to work for 1 day. It used to be on Saturday, but they changed it.
But toxic productivity is something else. People push themselves to unhealthy extremes in order to accomplish more, often at the expense of their health. And you do not want to sacrifice health. But TikTok's algorithm kept feeding the productivity obsession. Soon people were being shown endless videos with extreme productivity hacks. TikTokers giving productivity advice probably mean well. The problem starts when viewers take those routines and push them too far. The perfect example is the sleep is for the weak mindset. These videos show people staying up all night to work, bragging about not needing rest. Losing sleep becomes a badge of honor. And it gets worse. There's a trend called 5 to 9 before your 9 to 5. You'll see people trying to finish a full list of tasks before 9 a.m. By the time their actual job begins at 9, they're already exhausted. Last but not least, the that girl trend. The hashtag amassed over 1.6 billion views. The trend encouraged women to become hyper-productive girl bosses. I mean, it sounds respectable, but there's one major problem. Most people can't sustain that kind of schedule without burning out. Eventually, creators started speaking out. They made videos and blogs rejecting toxic productivity. One writer put it this way: when you push yourself too hard for too long, it's easy to start measuring your self-worth by how much you can get done. You start to feel guilty for wasting time on activities you used to enjoy. And I'm guilty of this too. Spending time with friends feels like falling behind. Even sleeping starts to feel like a waste of time. And the result? Burnout. Burnout isn't just feeling tired, it's a complete physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion. Many who tried the that girl lifestyle reported feeling exhausted, unhappy, and overwhelmed with guilt. More creators joined the conversation calling for change.
Issue is more around this kind of societal acceptance we have of
prioritizing productivity, prioritizing self-care in a way that's actually kind of destructive.
To make things worse, many of these perfect productivity videos aren't even real. They're staged to look impressive.
People who post these very aspirational versions of themselves online and then expect us to believe that that's who they are.
Again, I believe that hard and smart work is the key to success, but real productivity requires balance. You work hard, then you rest. You give your best, then you recover. And fun fact, the best ideas come when you're not working. This next trend made exploding with anger look normal. Crashing out. For a long time, crash out meant going to sleep very quickly because you were exhausted. But in early 2024, TikTok gave it an entirely different meaning.
Crashing out is when you lose all self-control with no care in the world about any of the consequences to follow.
For those of you who don't know, simply put, it means becoming suddenly uncontrollably angry or distressed. On TikTok, this wasn't just slang. It was a trend that made young people think violent outbursts were okay. In 2024, videos with the hashtag crashing out spread across TikTok. They encouraged reckless behavior. The message was simple: stop holding it together, lose control. This trend took off. Soon TikTok was filled with videos of people screaming, having emotional outbursts, or acting erratic. People recorded themselves breaking down over work, school, or relationships. They were crashing out for views. Within months, the hashtag crossed 1 billion views. This trend was horrible for mental health, teaching people that it's okay to act like this. Therapists said the trend made people absorb the idea that emotional crashing is a valid coping strategy. In other words, it rewired how people handled stress. Instead of learning self-control, people were performing their meltdowns for an audience. Despite the warnings, the trend only got more popular. The more dramatic the meltdown, the more engagement.
Very evil.
The crashing out trend even had its own anthem. It was a viral sound called Let It Burn. The lyrics told listeners to burn it all to the ground. And that's exactly what many did. Crashing out videos showed people making impulsive and destructive decisions. They quit their jobs without notice, ended friendships, and lashed out at family. Each crash out brought only a temporary wave of relief, attention, and validation, but it also left behind real consequences: broken relationships, lost opportunities, and lasting regret. It's normal to feel frustrated, but crashing out is
these are not well, these are trends, but these are demonic and dark in nature. These are all very broken people. They're all broken. They all need Jesus Christ more than ever. That's what's going on. What time is it? It's very early. All right, almost time to end the stream.
Today I want to talk about something that I've come across. So it has recently come to my attention that Roblox is hosting one of the most popular games on the platform, a top 3 game matter of fact, that is genuinely very controversial. Now by controversial, I don't mean like bad takes, freedom of speech. I just mean inexcusable stuff. Now I'm sure a lot of you guys could already tell, but this game is Steel Brain Rot. With a whopping 2.2 million players as I'm speaking right now, it has surpassed Grow Garden in players. And yeah, I'm not gonna beat around the bush. This game has items openly mocking God, religions, and people's beliefs. Just out in the public, just in there. It's not hiding. Now before I talk about how this game with billions of visits is openly mocking religion and God and people's beliefs, I want to start back to how this controversy first started. So if you guys don't actually know why this whole brain rot thing is popular, it's literally like the stupidest TikTok trend that started in 2025. It means absolutely nothing. Well, it definitely does mean something. I'm gonna get into that later, but it means absolutely nothing. Its purpose is useless, and it's just random AI generated stuff making weird noises, and kids find that funny apparently. It will not make sense to you, but if you have a little brother or something, then just understand that kids eat this up. Now obviously these brain rots are Italian. They're not English, and it would not be crazy to assume that most of Steel Brain Rot players are Western English-speaking people because the game name is in English and the original game design is in English. I know you can translate and stuff, but that's besides the point. If you actually take the time to look at the translations, which mind you has gone over everybody's head, you'll figure out what these brain rots are actually saying behind the random noises. And let me remind you, this is literally the main premise of the whole game. For example, this shark-looking brain rot. Want to know what it says? Well, actually, I'm not going to say it out loud, but but here it is on screen. Yeah, little children are repeating this. D God and D Allah. If you don't know, Allah is just God in Arabic. And this is just one of the brain rots. If we get another random one, here we got Bombadino Crocodilo. Yeah, very unique name. On the surface it looks normal, but here's the translation. I am not going.
Yeah, a lot of bad evil things. Nothing. Yeah, it's AI is just pure evil.
To say any of this on screen, but these are very clear jokes about people in Gaza and Palestine. Yeah, this is the face of Steel Brainrot, by the way, turning World War into a meme. This is what the Brainrots think about Allah and the people of Palestine, just openly making fun of religion and people in war zones. Now, if you think any of this is funny, please get the fuck out, because this is just inexcusable. Now, obviously, if you're a kid out here repeating the Brainrots that you like in your favorite Roblox game, I'm not gonna blame you. You don't know what it means. But who I am gonna blame is Steel Brainrot for hosting these bad Brainrots in their game, and Roblox for allowing Steel Brainrot to be hosted on their platform. There are genuine 5-year-olds spitting out blasphemy in different languages without realizing it. Because what 5-year-old is going to go out of their way to translate that? It's up to the game devs who, by now, most likely know about this, to take action. Are they going to though? No. Because it messes with their pockets. And that's all they really care about at the end of the day. Even without all the blasphemy, you're already selling your soul by making a Brainrot game in the first place, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. Now, what's worse is, Steel Brainrot is literally completely stolen. Yes, you heard that right. They stole somebody else's entire game and got top 3 on Roblox. Yeah, there was a whole ass game before this called Steal Character, and it was literally the exact same thing. The characters would go across a conveyor belt, you could buy them, steal them from people, lock your base. It was literally the exact same game. The shops, the stud theme, everything. And this game was, it was humble. It didn't do crazy. It has 100 players right now. So imagine this. Your game that you worked probably hard on as a small developer gets around 100 players, and then a month later somebody else with a fatter budget steals your whole game, uploads it, and gets 100,000 players within a month of publish. Now that's exactly what happened between Steel Character and Steel Brainrot. And people weren't stupid, people knew, just nobody was calling out Steel Brainrot. Why? Because Steel Brainrot is already so popular. At this point it looks like the other game is a copy. Literally the only difference was that Steel Brainrot was using Brainrots, bro. And yeah, for the average person that might have played Steel Character before, they could obviously see this was a straight copy. The devs didn't even make it better. They literally added the gambling, which the original game didn't even have. Now I think a big reason Steel Brainrot blew up and the other game didn't is because Steel Brainrot went literally nuclear on TikTok. There were so many clips of little kids getting their Brainrots stolen, and it was just very mainstream. And also you have all these big YouTubers talking about it because what? Brainrots are so popular now. And mind you, these Brainrots literally mock God, but these devs don't care because it makes their pockets fatter. This game was pretty much instantly pushed to the top of the charts, already breaking records. And it seems like it's actually surpassing Grow Guardian players as of late. Now the thing is, with Steel Character, it didn't always have 100 player active. At its peak, it had what, 10k-ish players, but after Steel Brainrot dropped, their player count literally dropped to like 60 to 100. So Steel Brainrot literally stole all of their player count, and I'm not even exaggerating. Imagine watching somebody steal your game and make all of this money. That would make me so